Clap your hands. Let me see the hands being clapped. Yes, let's clap our hands. Let me see many hands being clapped. I think many of the comments will not come. Yes, thank you so much, Peter. Thank you.
Um,
You guys keep clapping. Let's just keep
sorry,
clapping. You're making me to lose the energy. Is Billionaire Computer going to say something? Let us give him energy. Let us give him energy. Let us clap our hands. Clap our hands. Yes,
can we
sir, you're welcome. You can just
can we hear
tell
me?
us something about.
Am I audible? Can we hear me?
Yes, please, you are audible, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Good evening, everyone. I trust we are doing well. How are we doing? How are we doing? Use the chats. I can see Jadida. Oh yeah, how are we doing? Are we good? We will know if what's it called? The the network messes up. We have to be truthful about the current state in Africa. Okay, so I'm seeing Precious said we're very well, beautiful. Oof. I hope I'm not about to murder someone's name. I'm seeing Embel. I don't know if that's correct pronunciation, but yes, Embel. Um, our moderator and my fellow speaker, Jonathan Francis, said we are doing greatly great. We're good. Victor said doing well, sir. Awesome. Maya Gloria said we are fine. All right. I'm glad to hear that we are all doing well. So, yesterday I was trying to give some what's it called? Try to explain why this is necessary. Why Africa United, the Action Summit conversation is necessary. And some of the reasons I gave yesterday is that we need to realize how much of a force it would be if sorry guys, give me a minute.
All right, even as we wait for Billionaire to come back, let us keep inviting our friends. Please share those links. There's someone who needs to be here. You share it on your status. They need to see this. They need to see it to come and experience what is happening tonight. We are having people from different countries. This is an international meeting of people from Cameroon, people from Nigeria, people from Uganda, people from all over the world. right. I also saw there is a country, the Republic of
All right, sorry guys, I'm back. Can we hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Can we hear me? Pardon the interruptions. All right, thank you, Excel. You can also use emojis. Let me know that I am audible. So a why for this conversation, yeah, that's what we're talking about. Yesterday, I was talking about how I was in a session of about 150 Ugandans to, if I remember correctly, and on that call, it started dawning on me that we actually are not as divided as we think we are, that there is a lot that we have in common. Our struggles as Africans are similar, or at least most of our struggles are similar, and that the differences that we have between us are not as wide as we have somehow been taught or that we would actually imagine. Because a lot of us, for example, on that call that particular day, they were talking about agriculture. They were talking about agriculture. Okay, and that is like a common trait amongst Africans. Like, for example, Nigerian youth also have that same complaint whereby we have youths that are supposed to be in the agricultural sector, but some way, somehow, they are not there. There is a problem that I face as a youth in Nigeria, that the young person in Cameroon, the young person in Uganda, the young African in Germany, the young African in UK, the young person in Benin Republic can relate to. But how will we even know that we are having similar issues when we are not even talking to each other, when we are not having conversations, when there is so much restrictions? To move from Nigeria to another African country or some African countries is more strenuous than sometimes moving from Nigeria to another continent. Because somehow we are so divided in our mindset that we feel like, oh, you know, for those who are Ugandans can feel like, we are East Africa. The Nigerians and Cameroonians are West Africans. But we do not realize that the foreigners, if we would put it like that, are not seeing us as this ones are East Africans and West Africans. They're seeing us as Africans. And there must come a point whereby we are no longer complaining about the things that colonizers have done. Because there are countries that faced worse colonizations. I mean, colonization is one of the excused average African races. But we really have to get to a point where we are no longer complaining about what the foreigners did, what the colonizers did. There, it does not help us in any way. And also, at some point, we seek the collaboration of our leaders, presidents, whatnot. But even if they are slow, I have realized that it is not necessarily the political leaders that build a nation. For example, the United States of America was built on the back of entrepreneurs, businessmen, not politicians. And this is research that you can do. You can do a simple Google research. There's a series titled Men Who Built America. The men who actually built America were businessmen, entrepreneurs. And so we cannot keep playing the blame game or living in the past. We must look forward. We must get to a point where we are no longer complaining, but that in our various points, we are taking steps. Yesterday, I was speaking about, there was a post I made in May, I think it was May this year, about how it was more of like an inspired prophecy. And I would read it, and that is, once I'm done reading, I would hand over back to Jonathan. But then it goes like this: to my fellow Africans, greetings in strength, dignity, and hope. I write to you today not only as a brother, but as a voice echoing through time, drawing from the ancient well of scripture to speak to our present pain and our promised glory. Reciting from scriptures now, it says, the sons also of them that afflicted you shall come bending unto you, and all they that despised you shall bow themselves down at the soles of your feet. And they shall call you the city of the Lord, the Zion of the Holy One of Israel. Whereas you have been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through you, you will be made an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. For centuries, we have endured wounds inflicted by the cruel hands of racism. Our identities, for example, have been questioned. Our lands have been pillaged. Our peoples have been enslaved, and our dignity has been stripped. The pain is deep. The scars are there, undeniable. And the world seems to keep painting Africa in shades of pity or contempt. Yet they have never really seen the gold within us. But hear this prophecy: the same hands that afflicted will one day acknowledge your glory. The voices that mocked will one day speak your name with reference. The nations that turned their backs will one day seek your wisdom, seek your beauty and your strength. We are not victims, we are vessels of glory. And what the world calls forsaken, heaven calls chosen. What man has despised, God is dignifying. There is a coming restoration, not just of our, there's a coming restoration, not just of our, um, sorry, excuse me, not just of our image, but also of our influence. So let us then rise, not with bitterness. What has happened has happened. There's no way to change what has happened. But we need to rise now with boldness. Let us begin to educate ourselves, our children with truth. Let us begin to lead our communities with integrity. Let us begin to build our nations and, by extension, our continent, Africa, with excellence and honor our heritage with pride. Let us refuse to be defined by oppression and instead be refined by our vision. You, Africa, you Africans are not the story of chains. You are the song of kings and queens, of prophets and priests, of innovators and builders. And from the ashes of content, you shall rise as an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. This is our prophetic destiny, and we must rise into it together. With honor and hope, your brother, Ilonia Bokumi, it is time for us to start building towards this glorious future together. That from your little estate, in whatever part of Africa you find yourself, you have a collective mindset. There's a saying that if I am anything today, it's because I've stood on the shoulders of those who have gone ahead of me. I saw a video recently of my mentor Vusi Tembekwayo, where he was talking about how every time he enters a room, he's not just one man, of the collective efforts that has brought him to that point, of all the South Africans that have come before him. I, Bukumi, am a collective representation of the people that are sacrificed within Nigeria, within Africa to this point. And to honor their sacrifices, I will do my own part of building. But I cannot do it alone. I cannot do it alone. And that is why we are here together to speak, to talk. Because after now, it should no longer be talking. It should be us building towards greatness. For lack of much more time, this is where I'm going to be stopping on the why, and I will be handing over back to Jonathan, our moderator, to continue the session. You're welcome to Africa United, the Action Summit.
Let's keep clapping. Let's clap. Let's clap. Let's clap. Let's clap. Let's clap. Africa is the conversation. Those labels which were put on us, they have been stripped off. We are the joy of many generations. Thank you so much for that enlightenment and those insights. And that is what somebody needs to hear in an evening as this, and also in a time as this.
is what is African United, the Action Summit. We have come here to provoke each other to act. We're here to ignite our potentials and act intentionally. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you also from different parts of Uganda, different parts of Nigeria, different parts of Benin, from whichever place you're coming. Thank you for representing. You're representing a generation. You're representing a generation here. Thank you for standing with the gap. So we are going to continue with our conversation. We have a lineup of speakers, but we have three speakers, as you can see on the flyer, which is being displayed on the screen. We have three speakers, and the first speaker is going to be me, Jonathan Francis Agarejo. I bet no one can pronounce that last name, but it's not a problem. And then we are going to have the second speaker is going to be Junius. Oh my God. Guys, is my microphone a problem, my network, or what? Because I've seen another message that my voice is not heard. What should I do? Let me change. Because I'm upset.
God. This is serious news. Let me first change it. Let me put it real mic. Okay, how is it now? How is it? If it is good, you clap. Just touch one of the emojis so that I can know that now I'm good. Now I've put a better mic. I believe now I'm being heard well and clear. Is it good, guys? It is echoing again. Oh God. How is it now? Yeah. Is it now good? I think I'm good, yes. I'm now good. Please, if there's anything, let me know. A bit better. All right. Thank you so much. Lolinia. Once again, I'll say that we have three speakers, and the first speaker is going to be me, and I'm going to share with you convictions and thoughts on the unity of Africa that is going to provoke you to stand out as a builder. When we talk of builders are not people who are just following an order which has been created by the education system which was brought to us by the Europeans, or a system which we have found is existing in community. Builders are the people who build systems. They're the people who say that I am not just going to be a spectator. I am not just going to be doing things for my own selfish benefits, but I'm going to do it for the greater good, for the greater purpose. So it is a great honor to have all of you here in this conversation. And I want you to note that today is not simply another meeting. It is not merely an opportunity to discuss the challenges facing Africa. Because somebody will ask themselves, who are these developers who have come together? They have drawn all these people here. Are they planning to cause some damage in Africa? No. We are not here just to discuss the challenges facing Africa. We are here to reflect, to act, to unite, and take responsibility, friends. So the theme of today's conversation, as you can see on the flyer, is repairers of the bridge. And I want us to understand from the beginning that when we talk about repairers of the bridge, we are not talking about somebody somewhere who is going to come and rescue Africa. We are not talking about any other person. We are talking about us, we the Africans. We are talking about Africans who are willing to look at the condition of the continent and say, something must change, and I am willing to be part of that change. Maybe you have looked into South Africa, you have looked into Nigeria, and you have seen good things, but there is more. There is always more that we can do. And when our eyes are open to the possibilities which still exist, we can't settle just in the comforts of what has already been achieved. There is more. And we, as Africans, we really have enormous potential. And that potential, which we have as individuals, forms the potential of Africa. And in the continent, we have natural resources, we have creativity, which is all vested in us. Intelligence, we have that intelligence. We have amazing cultures and entrepreneurship all over Africa. And we have a beautiful population of young people. As a few days back, I was privileged to listen to some conversation, and in that conversation, it was giving us statistics on how Africans are taken to those outside countries. And the speaker emphasized that those outside countries need Africans because Africa has the youngest population. That means the people in Africa are still energetic, they are still young as compared to what is in other countries. So that's why they can see the potential in Africa, and they know that they need that potential in their country because we have a young population that can still do so much, that still has so much creativity. And today I want to challenge every one of us to move from simply admiring Africa's potential to take a responsibility for Africa's future. So I'm going to share a screen so that I want you to be following my conversation. Just give me a moment. I'm going to be sharing some slides here so that we can move together. Okay, just a moment. Okay. I'll be sharing my screen shortly so that we move together, because I'll prepare some slides which I would like us to, which I'll be speaking from. Okay. I believe it is visible. It is visible, is it? Let me share again. It's, yes, I'm good, right? I'm now good. Is everyone able to see that something on the screen? If you are able, please you click on one of the emojis so that I can know that members are viewing. Oh, not yet. Let me click again. What's this? Please. Okay, it's there now. I can see it. I believe now everyone can see. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so based on the theme of the conversation that we are having this evening, my thoughts are going to be based on those 4 key areas. Firstly, I'm going to share with you the power of the unity. What will happen when Africa unites? And also, we are going to talk about who are the repairers of the bridge and how can you be that repairer? Because we are not here just to excite you. We are not just here to be excited about the potential of Africa, we are here to act. And so we are going to look at all of that. Now let's just think about unity. And this is, and I'm going to give you a very beautiful demonstration of unity and the power of unity, which is recorded in the Bible. The Bible tells us in the book of Genesis, chapter 11, from verse 1 to 6, that the whole earth had one language and the same words. The people in that time came together and decided to build a city and tower whose top would reach the heavens. Their motives were not right. They wanted to make a name for themselves and ultimately change God's order. But look at what God said about their unity in Genesis chapter 11, verse 6. The scriptures quote, "The Lord said, behold, they are one people, and they have one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do, and nothing that they propose to do will now be possible for them." This is the creator of the universe, testifying of the potential which was vested in what a people had started, because they were of one mind. They were united. Think about that statement, friends. God was speaking about people whose intention was wrong, yet he recognized the incredible power of their unity of mind, language, vision, and action. And this is the lesson here. When people become united around a vision, their capacity to accomplish something increases dramatically. And that is what happens when Africa is united. Imagine for a moment if we Africans became united like those people. Not just around destruction like how they were, and not just around selfish ambition, not just around tribalism, and not just around political division, but around the vision of building a better Africa. Imagine Africans across different nations saying, we may come from different countries, but we share one continent. We may speak different languages, but we can share a common vision. We may have different cultures, but we can collaborate. We may have different backgrounds, but we can build together. Yesterday, I thought of something like, hi, Jonathan, I am from Uganda. Billionaire. And juniors from Cameroon. How did we meet? How did all of this happen? It was because that barrier of I am only a Nigerian, I am a Ugandan, I am this, was removed. And it became so easy for us to converse, for us to connect, for us to network, and for us to organize this, for us to have this conversation. That is the power of unity. So despite of the different languages, the different backgrounds, when we are united, there is so much that we can build together. That is the question behind Africa United Action Summit. We are here because Africa needs a new level of cooperation, and Africa must build Africa. Sometimes we imagine that the solution to Africa's problems must come from outside Africa. We think perhaps America will come, Europe will come, Asia will come, or another core country will bring the money, the technology, or the institutions, even the solutions, and even that transformation which we long to experience. Of course, I will emphasize that there is really value in international cooperation, that people and organizations around the world do meaningful work in Africa, and we should welcome such genuine partnerships. But we must understand one fundamental principle: the primary responsibility for building Africa belongs to Africans. And you who is on the call right now is that Africa. And for sure, nobody understands our challenges better than the people who live with us, the people, the challenges of Africa. No one understands them better than the people who live in Africa. And no one carries the responsibility for Africa's future more directly than we, the Africans. Therefore, the question should not always be who is going to save Africa. The question should be, what are we going to build? What institution will we establish? What business will we create? What school will we build? What technology will we develop? And what problem will we solve? That is the spirit that can build Africa. And that is where transformation begins. So unity is more than just a slogan, and it is not something that is just written on a banner. Unity means that we stop thinking only about my tribe, my country, my organization, my business, my success, and begin asking, what can we build together? I would like to give you an example of the different companies which we have in the country. Everyone, I don't know whether that battle is still existent, but I think it has quite subsided. Everyone wants to have iPhone. Everyone wants to have iPhone. But how did it come about? It came about because some people, a group of people, believe in a vision and they devoted themselves to working together, to building together. And right now, everyone wants to have their product. So it's not just about you doing it alone, we do it together. And true, Africa really does not lack talented people. All we need is more connected people. We need entrepreneurs who are connected to educators, and the educators connected to innovators, innovators connected to investors. We need professionals who are connected to communities. And we need people with the resources connected to people with ideas. Sometimes the solution is already in Africa, and truthfully, the solution is in Africa. The person with that solution simply has not yet met the person with the resources. And the person with the resources has not yet met the person with the idea. And many times, the person with the idea has not yet met the person with the network. And that unity, it is only unity that creates the connections, that makes all these things to be so easy and effortless. And that is why this summit is here. I believe now we are really getting a picture of what is Africa United Action Summit. So now, having known that really Africa needs to be united with the people who will stand up and say that I am going to rise for Africa as a builder. I am going to rise as a person who will bring transformation. Now, let us ask ourselves the question, how can we be those people? And who are the people who build? Because you have to be somebody for you to be able to do something. Now, in this part here, I'm going to share with us thoughts on who are repairers of the bridge. And I will always reference to the Bible because I find so much wisdom in the Bible. So when you look in scripture in the book of Isaiah, chapter 58, verse 12, the Bible says, and your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations. You shall be called the repairer of the bridge, the restorer of streets to dwell in. What a powerful description. A repairer of the bridge is someone who sees what is broken and chooses to participate in restoring it. Is that person who sees the problems in Africa, who sees what is wanting and takes responsibility. A repairer of the bridge does not simply complain about the broken wall. A repairer does not stand at a distance and criticize the people who failed before. and a repairer says, I will do something about this. So if you are going to be a repairer, you have to carry that same kind of conviction. And this is where I want to make this personal. You are that repairer, friends. You who is listening to me, you are that repairer. You cannot afford to just be a spectator in life. You cannot just afford to be dragged. You should be the one building. And in the Bible, we are given example of a man called Nehemiah. This guy, Nehemiah, heard that the walls of Jerusalem were broken down and its gates had been burned. When you read the Bible from the book of Nehemiah, chapter 1, from verse 3 to 4, we are told that the wall of Jerusalem was broken and its gates were destroyed by fire. And when this guy Nehemiah heard this, he did not simply say, that is unfortunate. The scriptures tell us that as soon as he heard these words, he sat down and mourned for days. Why did he mourn? Because he cared. He understood that the broken condition of his nation was his responsibility. Eventually, Nehemiah went to Jerusalem and began rebuilding. But notice something important. Nehemiah did not rebuild the wall alone. He mobilized people. That's where community comes in. Families participated, workers participated, leaders participated. Different people took responsibility for different sections. He could not do it alone. And that is another lesson for Africa. We cannot rebuild Africa alone. Whatever that you see is wanting, even in your community. Because if you're going to change Africa, it starts right from where you are, even in your community. All you need is unity of mind and vision. So the people who are going to be repairers of the bridge, they are the people who are willing to unite. The repairers see problems differently. Everyone, of course, can see a problem, but not everyone sees an opportunity to become part of the solution. A spectator will see a broken education system and complains. They will go on the street and start striking, which I don't have to comment on. A repairer asks, what can I do to improve education? A spectator will see unemployment and complain. A repairer asks, what enterprise can I build? What skills can I teach? What opportunities can I create? For a spectator, they will see poverty, but a repairer will ask themselves, what solution can I develop? And that is how you have to carry yourself as a person who yearns to be a solution. So the difference here is not that the repairer does not see the problem. The repairer sees the problem and acts responsibly for doing something about it. And we have to also note that Africa really needs more than wealth, because we have people in courts who are wealthy. Africa has those people with money, the education, with the academic credentials, they have the influence, and even the international networks. But resources alone do not guarantee transformation. What we need is conviction. Ask yourself, why would billionaire Bukumi think of Africans coming together like this? It was not because he has too much money. It was because of conviction. So conviction is the thing that can bring about such movements. It's the thing that is going to organize a group of groups and say that let us grow together. Let us build together. So what we need is conviction. We need people who genuinely care. We need people who have a hunger to see Africa transform. We need people who are willing to sacrifice. People who are willing to build something that may not benefit them immediately. Because for sure, true success is not simply what you accomplish. True success is what you leave behind, friends. You can build a personal fortune and still leave your community unchanged. You can become wealthy and still leave no legacy. You can become famous and still fail to create meaningful impact. But when you enter a place and leave it better than you found it, your life begins to carry a different kind of significance. And that is what we call you. That is really what legacy is all about. So our focus should not just be on our own personal achievements for our personal gains, not just going to the beach, having children, and having a beautiful family. Really, that is not the best life. One time somebody made an analogy of how somebody can be rich in a community. Imagine you are the richest person in the community, and it is good, you are very rich, but all the people around you are poor. It's interesting that the poor people around you are the ones who are going to rob you. They are the ones who are going to want to kill you because they don't have the money. But imagine you are the guy, the rich guy, you are the wealthy guy. You help other people to also become wealthy. You are protecting the community, you are transforming the community, and you are protecting yourself from problems. And that is the spirit of a repairer of a bridge. So today, in this conversation, I provoke you, I challenge you to decide today that you're going to be a repairer of the bridge. You're not just going to be a spectator. You're going to be an activist in this move, in this conversation of transformation. You don't need to be at the top to start. You just need to get started wherever you are. Now, let us come, this is a very important question. Somebody will ask themselves, if I am a repairer of the bridge, what should I actually do? How do I become one? I want to give you several practical principles. And the first one is you have to start with yourself. And please, you give me some energy, even as we I'm speaking. When there's something that really edifies you, you can drop them on the WhatsApp group. You can share it in the chat section. You can click on an emoji so that I can feel that energy. I need energy so that I can keep speaking. I'm soon finishing. So the first thing you have to start, if you're going to be a repairer of the bridge, because being a repairer of the bridge, being that builder, is also a responsibility. You're not just going to wake up and say that I'm going to start changing Africa. There's something you gotta do. There are lots of things you have to do, and that you have to start with yourself. The first person you must repair is you before you build Africa. You have to build yourself. You cannot effectively transform people when you refuse to transform yourself. You cannot demand excellence from society while living without discipline. You cannot just talk about leadership while refusing to take responsibility for your own life. Therefore, the first project of the repairer is personal development. You have to invest in yourself. You have to read, you have to study, you have to learn, develop your character. You have to build emotional intelligence. You have to develop your communication skills. You have to master your profession. You have to learn financial management. You have to learn technology. You have to understand leadership. You have to develop discipline, and you have to become a person of value. Because when you build your capacity, you increase what you can contribute to Africa. As we have often heard, or I believe most of us have heard, it's a common statement: you cannot give what you don't have. If you are going to add value to Africa, you have to become valuable. And knowledge is a weapon. One of the reasons, as you guys can see on the flyer, why I founded Expressway Leaders Club was because I recognized that many people remain stagnant because they do not intentionally pursue knowledge. Knowledge just changes the way you think. The way you think influences the decisions you make. And your decisions influence your actions. Your actions influence your results. and those results eventually influence your community. Therefore, if we want to transform Africa, we must first transform the minds of Africans. And you are that Africa. You have to transform your mind, then you'll be able to transform the mind of other Africans. And that is your contribution. You have to read books, you have to listen to valuable podcasts, attend meaningful conversations such as this. You have to join communities that challenge you. You have to learn from people who are ahead of you. Become a lifelong learner. Because a transformed continent really begins with transformed minds, and it begins with you. Secondly, you have to discover your value. The second thing you must do is discover what you carry. You have something that Africa needs. Every one of us has a distinction. You are a distinct being. There's something in this continent, in this world, that only you can do. That you can do so well that once you get into and you master it, it's amazing the impact and the transformation you can build. Maybe that thing is business, maybe it is technology, maybe it is education, maybe it is agriculture, maybe it is medicine. It can even be leadership, it can be creativity, it can be engineering, it can be even communication. Maybe it is your ability to organize people, maybe it is your ability to solve problems. Your responsibility is to discover that distinctive thing that you can do and do so well. And then after discovering it, you have to develop it. And after developing it, you deploy it. Recently, I was reading some book by Sunday Adelaja. And he gave a very beautiful story of how someone can literally make their hobby to become a profession. And he gave an example of for example, let us see, of Colgate, of how it started. I believe how the product called Colgate, toothpaste in this case, of course, it started with that toothpaste. I think, I've been privileged to watch some of those videos which were in black and white, those early videos. And you look at the people's mouths, for sure, like the teeth, they look strange, because I think that people in that time used to not brush. And I believe someone just thought that there was need for his teeth to look clean. And he started brushing his teeth, and eventually it became a product. Right now, no one in the world can stay without a toothpaste. You see that is the power. That is the power in this. So when you discover that thing which is so much attributed to you that you do so well, and if you develop it, you become an expert in it, it can eventually become a product and to earn so much wealth. Thirdly, you have to master your craft. You should not just become a repairer who only has passion but no competence. And I think that is one thing that is missing in many people. There are people who are passionate, excited. Oh, when there is a meeting, I have to be here. I have to do this. You have to be competent. You have to be competent. You have to be aggressive in life when it comes to execution and acting. You have to be aggressive, and that is competence. So passion is really important, vision is important, conviction is important, but competence matters. If you want to solve a problem, you have to become excellent at solving it. If you want to build a business, you have to master business. You have to make sure you understand. If you want to lead people, study leadership. If you want to transform education, understand the education system. If you want to create a technology, you have to learn technology. Africa needs people who are not only passionate but competent. You have to master your craft. Become excellent Then take that excellence and use it to serve your country, use it to serve Africa, use it to serve the world. And that is where the transformation begins. The fourth thing is you have to take responsibility. You have to take responsibility for your community. The repairer of the bridge does not only think about personal success. The repairer looks around. Who is around you? Who needs help? Who needs knowledge? Who needs mentorship? Who needs an opportunity? Who needs encouragement? Who needs to be connected to a resource? You may not be able to transform the whole of Africa today, but you can transform one person. You can mentor one young person. You can teach one skill. You can employ one person. You can support one entrepreneur. You can educate the community. You can start one initiative. You should never underestimate the power of starting small. That's in the story of Nehemiah. He did not just rebuild every broken wall in the world in his time. Rather, he rebuilt the wall that was in front of him. Ask yourself this question. What wall is in front of me? Which wall do you have to build in front of you? Start from there. And that is how you will grow into being that great builder. And the fifth point, you have to build with others. One of the greatest things that is killing potentials is individualism. People being selfish, being too entitled. They want this to be theirs. They want to be that big fish in a small pond. And that is not going to work if you're going to have so much impact in the world. You have to accept to work with others. Remember the book of Genesis, chapter 11, the people were united in mind. And even God could not stop how far they could go. The power was in their unity. Therefore, do not try to do everything alone. You have to find people, collaborate, build networks. You have to share knowledge, share resources. You have to create those partnerships, create institutions. You have to do things together. And I believe more than ever, this is the time for Africans to work together. And that is how we shall be able to have so much transformation in our communities and even in the world. Also, you have to revise, redefine your definition of success. I want to challenge you here. What if success is not simply how much money did I make? What if success is also how many lives did I improve? What if success is what did I build? Who became better because I existed? What problem did I solve? What institution did I establish? What generation did I influence? Because one day, your money will not speak as loudly as your legacy. Your possessions will remain behind, your titles will remain behind, but the lives you touched, the institutions you built, the knowledge you transferred, and the problems you solved can continue speaking long after you are gone. That is legacy. So your focus should not just be on these small achievements of studying hard, getting employment, they give you a position, a very high position, and you just earn a predictable income. That is slavery. So you have to redefine success. Finally, as we come to the end of this conversation, I want to leave you with one simple thought. Africa is waiting for its repairers. The question is, will you become one? You do not need to wait until you are rich. You do not need to wait until you have a huge organization. And you do not need to wait until you become famous. You do not need to wait until somebody gives you permission. Start where you are. Use what you have, develop what you can. Build yourself, build others, build communities, build institutions, build businesses, build knowledge. And most importantly, build together. Because Africa's transformation will not happen simply because we complain about its problems. It will happen because people decide to take responsibility. It will happen because people decide to become repairers. It will happen because people decide to unite. It will happen because people decide to build. A final biblical picture is this. In Isaiah, we saw that the scripture tells us, you shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to dwell in. That is the identity we should embrace. We are not merely Africans who have inherited a continent. We are Africans who have inherited a responsibility. The Africa we complain about today is the Africa we have an opportunity to transform. The question is not, why is Africa like this? The question is, what am I going to do about it? The question is not, where are the leaders? The question is, how can I be a leader? And the question is not, who will come and help us? The question is, what can we do together? And the question is not, can Africa change? The answer is yes, but Africa will change when Africans choose to change. And Africa will rise when Africans choose to rise. Africa will build when you, the African, chooses to build. And Africa will unite when Africans choose to unite. And let me tell you that Africa will be transformed when Africans decide that they will no longer remain spectators, but will become repairers of the bridge. So today, I want to challenge you, dear person who is on the call. You have to build yourself, you have to build your family, you have to take responsibility for everything that has been entrusted to you. That by the time you leave it, it becomes a better version of itself. It can be your family, it can be that business. Be intentional about it. Give it 100%. There is none. You should not do things casually in life, because if you are going to do things casually, it will become a casualty. And repairers of the bridge are not like that. You have to be intentional and not waste time, because you have only one life. So even in this one life, do your best. If you are still rising, enjoy that journey, but don't waste time in that journey. Keep growing, keep becoming, and that is the Africa we are calling for. That is the Africa that has drawn us here today. I am Jonathan Francis Agalejo. Thank you so much for listening to me. That is all that I have prepared for you tonight. I believe you have gained so much value. And please, if you have gained value from this conversation, you click on those emojis, you type in the chats what you have learned. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and thank you for following. And that is the spirit of people who build Africa. Yesterday, I made a statement that even being on the call is potential in itself, because there's some people who can never be on the call, who can never be on a call like this. You know what it means to that discipline. So thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. I believe you've learned a lot of things. So that was it from me to you. I believe you have really learned a lot. Let me just, let me hear somebody's voice. You know, yeah, don't like just feeling low. Don't run just talking on the call as if I'm the only one. Somebody to just, I'm going to pick people at random. You're going to just share with us some of the important points that you have learned from this conversation, from what I have just shared. Yes, let me go with Albert. Let me go with Albertine and Joel. I'm seeing there are two names there. You can just unmute and you tell us the country from, and also what you've learned from this conversation. You can unmute. You can unmute and speak to us. Albertine and Joel. That's the name I'm seeing. Seems Albertine is having some issues, is delaying. Let us hear from Andrew. Andrew, that second name. We will Paul. Sir, if you don't mind, you can just share with us some of the things which have stood out for you from this convention, so that I can know that we are good and together.
All right. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew Will Ball, as it has been written there. I'm in Uganda and I'm a South Sudanese. Currently, I am in Germany, in Uganda. So, thank you so much, Jonathan, Francis. I follow uh, this link today. I got it from WhatsApp of Madi Debaters Conference. That is where we are sharing about debate things to do with the debate. Yeah, today I'm really grateful that I meet this kind of things, and I'm also interested in it, and I really learned a lot. Though I came late, I was having other things I was doing, so I did not. Let me say, I did not attended the whole of it, but I just got some few of it. Uh, take example of that how can we, like the question we asked, brother was the one that asked me about those questions. Number one, the one you take that you what for you to prepare, what it will you to first start and then first discover your value. Now those are the things we learn. It means for us as Africa, we need to first see our and we discover our value. Yes. Now I was so happy, and I cannot waste time here. Say that thank you so much for what you share with us. And around Africa, I saw almost maybe 6 countries. So, thank you so much. And now I will say next time.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you so much. Let us clap for Andrew. Let us clap for Andrew. Let us clap for Andrew. That is Andrew. He's a South Sudanese in Uganda. There's some people here know South Sudan. So we have South Sudan representing Africa. He's going somewhere, friends. Thank you so much, Andrew, for that. Let me just have this time a lady. I'm going to choose a lady. And from another country, let us have Deborah. Deborah, if you know your name is Deborah, you can just unmute. You know the other second name. I don't want to bite my tongue. Deborah, if you don't mind, you can unmute and just tell us before we proceed to the next speaker. You can tell us what you've learned from the conversation and also from where you are from. Deborah, I don't want to try to pronounce that name, but I'm going to try. Imokwende. Imokwende. I think I've tried. Deborah, are you there? Deborah. Imokwende. Okay, Deborah is taking long. Let us have Grace Chama Musa. I believe that is a lady. Grace Chama Musa. You can unmute if your name is Grace Chama Musa. That's what I'm seeing. The names. Let Africa hear your voice. By the way, Andrew, when you just spoke, I want you to know that there's somebody from Benin who just heard your voice. Today, your voice has traveled nations in Africa. Somebody from Nigeria heard your voice. People from Cameroon have heard your voice. What an honor for your voice to be heard. It's such a beautiful thing. So, somebody, your voice needs to be heard here. Let Let us hear the voices that are rising in Africa. Grace Chamumsa, should I proceed to the next part, to another person? This time I want to choose another country. But guys, okay, I'm going to choose another person. I want to just make sure that it is a lady. We have a lady and gentleman. All right. Let us have Gesiere Lolia. You can unmute and just tell us what have you learned from the conversation that we just had, and also where you're coming from. Gesiere.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everybody. Okay, so my name is Lolia Gesere and I'm speaking from Nigeria. So one of my major takeaway from the section held by Sir Jonathan is the aspect where he said that we shouldn't be spectators. Rather than complaining, it's best we all take the responsibility to be repairers of the breach. And it starts from where we are, it starts from ourselves and developing ourselves so that we can frontier whatsoever things that need to be repaired in Africa, basically. So that's like my major takeaway that just ringing rent free in my head. So thank you so much.
Wow, beautiful. Glad to know that you learned that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will once again, I want to thank you for being on the call. That is so much potential. It takes energy. It takes so much energy to be on the call for all this time. And that is the testament of how much is about to be unleashed in Africa. So thank you so much. Now we are proceeding to the next speaker. If you are expectant, if you are excited, please let me see the emojis moving. I don't want to get bored. Somebody's going to doze off. Yeah? All right, good. And this speaker here is coming from another country. You just heard from Jonathan Francis from Uganda. And today we are hearing from a person from another country. It could be your country, but someone who's not from that country, it is such an honor to hear their voice. Have you people who are from Uganda, you people from South Sudan, you people from Benin, have you ever heard the voice of somebody who is from Cameroon? And I would like to present to you this night, Junius, Mr. Junius. I don't want to bite my tongue with the other names, but I'm going to try. Mr. Junius Gloria. You will excuse me. So we are having Mr. Junius. He's going to take us through and he's going to give us some thoughts on this matter of this conversation that we're having tonight. Mr. Junius, you're going to help me to really pronounce that name. The first one I've tried, the second and the third. I don't think I'm alone. We are many. Mr. Junius, you can unmute and just take us through what you've prepared to share with us tonight. Let us clap our hands even as Mr. Junius gets on.
Okay. Thank you, man.
Oh, yes, please.
Thank you, everyone. Once again, just be and to try to do all the things you do. In the case you can hear me.
We can hear you, but seems the voice is quite low. So I think
Okay.
we can make it more.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Junius, your mic is off. We are expecting to hear from you. how many people are coming from Cameroon? If you are coming from Cameroon, you click on that emojis and see.
Okay, please indicate we can hear me.
Yeah, the voice is not good. If I speak again,
Okay, thank you very much. I hope I'm audible now. Okay, thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you for that powerful session. It was really insightful. Okay, the name. Yeah. Okay, the name is Juniors Gloa and Chimchua. That's the last name. Yeah. The second name is a French name, so if you don't speak French, it will be difficult for you to pronounce it very well. It's going to be very difficult. So that's it. That's just on that side. So welcome everyone to the Africa United Submit, and I believe none of us is here by mistake. I want to thank my brother, most especially Bironi Ebukumi, for putting this together. You know, this whole stuff just came like, am I going to say like a joke? It was just from a conversation that we're having that, like, all of this just spring up. Like what you're having tonight, what we have been preparing was just a product of a conversation we had some months back, and today we are here. It's no longer a conversation, but it has expounded to something big. And I believe that all of us here are going to leave after these sessions with our minds recalibrated. That's the ultimate goal I have for tonight, to cause a shift in our perspectives and on the subject matter. So we are looking at Africa Unite. The theme is very, very huge, very, very, very huge, and I believe that um, the all of us that are present here, we are not here by mistake. If we are here tonight, it's because this topic speaks to us personally. It speaks to us because I remember when some weeks back when I was working on drafting a communication campaign for this program with one of my brothers who is an expert when it comes to all this social media management and everything. When I spoke to him about the whole event and then I showed him the plan and everything, the, the response he gave me, I was like, he told me that, bro, what you are doing is very good. The idea is awesome, but it's too big. Like, this is not something that the average youth, the average Cameroonian, the average Nigerian, the average Ugandan, the average Congolese, you can name them, will be sitting and thinking about. And you're telling me that it's too big. Like the level, the intellectual capacity required to be in this kind of room is too big. This is not something that youths will really be willing to come in for. And because when he asked me first of all, I said, okay, we are targeting youth, people in their 20s. And first of all, then when he said, okay, I said, okay, let's shift our targets to people in their 30s. And he told me that even in those in their 30s, the average person is not really going to ride with this. I'm just saying this to say that if you are here, it is already a big positive sign that you are different. You are not that average. You are different. And I really want to applaud that, and I celebrate each and every one of us here. So, time is a burden. I trust God to be able to deliver what I have in the minutes that are left. So when we look at the topic that is being given, there are a lot of things, a lot of parameters that we need to have in mind, we need to consider if we're really going to touch it. First of all, we are talking about unity. If we are talking about if we are bringing up a call to unity, it means there was disunity, there was division. That is what is calling for unity. And if we don't understand the causes of this division, there are higher chances that the unity we are trying to build now will not last. It's not going to be sustainable. Now, and from my studies, I have discovered that the central
Hello, am I the only one hearing? I think it's a network issue on Mr. Junius's end, but I believe shortly he's going to join back. Mr. Junius, your sound is off. Your sound is off. And check your mic. All right, he's there. Mr. Junius, we're waiting for you. Your mic just went off.
Okay. Please,
Yeah.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can get you.
Okay. For how long was it off? Please, let me try to retrace my steps back. What was the last
I
thing you
think
heard?
just a few seconds.
Okay. So, like I was saying, it's that identity crisis that's going to picture a scenario where you have an African and an expatriate that are on the continent, maybe looking forward to get a service, and the expatriate will tend maybe to be favored over the other one. Or we have scenarios of where someone will tend to favor more a person from his tribe, from his origin, more than someone maybe from another country. I don't want to go ahead and give examples, but I believe that each and every one of us here, we have been either victims or we have heard similar stories before. The reason why we can give such a treatment to another human being is simply because we don't understand this whole identity stuff, because that's what is going to make you devalue. Because the Bible says what, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Most times when you have issues in loving your neighbor, it's because you don't first of all know how to love yourself. So majority of those that tend to be in this setting of giving this kind of treatment to others, if we go in depth and check their lives, discover that actually it's something they are doing even to themselves, be it consciously or unconsciously. So who you are, your identity, it's paramount. You must know who you are. If we are going to live from maybe just doing things from favoritism and going to the level of merit, then I believe that this is one of the things we have to understand. Because when you understand your identity, you are definitely then going to understand your purpose. As Sir Jonathan read earlier in the same Genesis chapter 11, just for the sake of time, if you continue into that reading, you will discover that they listed out what they are going to do. They'll build bricks, they are going to mount the bricks. In fact, they listed out the several tasks, the different tasks that are necessary for them to build the tower they wanted to build. And if we are talking about different tasks, we are highlighting what different specialities. There is no way you are going to be efficient in building this Africa we are talking about if you don't know your corridor, you don't know your path. Because in as much as we are talking building, that's a corporate language, that building is not going to have the same expression with all of us. Because when we look at the tower, there are others that are going to be turning maybe the cement and the sand. Others that their only job will be to bring water to the site. Others, their job will be to mold the bricks. Others, their job will be to transport the bricks. Others, their jobs will be to build the ladder so that the others are going to climb on it. Everybody has his part. So we can picture Africa like a house, and then each and every one of us, we have our specific tasks that we have to do. I had to start from identity because we can't speak about purpose without living identity, living out identity. So it's very important for you to already understand that. Why are you here? Because that is going to help you to know actually what exactly you are meant to do. Because one of the things you will tend to understand when it comes to success is that your success is actually defined by the fulfillment of that why. As Sir Jonathan was closing earlier. So it is based on what you are called to do that you can actually measure your success rate. So if you don't even know, first of all, what you're called to do, then how are you going to be able to measure that success rate? It becomes difficult. And when we talk about purpose, most times people think it's something very hard, very complicated, and I always say it's very easy to get it. You just need to ask yourself the right questions. Unfortunately, we are not talking about purpose here. I'm just going to throw some light, then move on from there. It's something that is inbuilt. When sometimes I hear some people sometimes will say for months, for years, they are still thinking about discovering their purpose. They are still, no, something is wrong. Most times, if it took you years to discover it, if you are sincere with yourself, you sit down and discover that actually those years you were not searching for it, you were not searching for or you were not looking, questioning your purpose throughout all that period. If you just retrace your steps backwards, you're going to discover that there were some days where you were intentional about it, and that's when it broke out. God has nothing to gain by making it difficult for you to know it. Just imagine a manufacturer that makes a housing equipment and then does not put the user's manual inside. What does he have to gain? Instead, he has a lot to lose, because the absence of that user's manual is going to make it in a way that those that will buy the product are not going to use it rightly, and it's going to get negative feedback as a result of that. That negative feedback is going to influence the reputation of his brand, his company, or whatever he's building. So he has everything to gain to put the user's manual when he's building it. So that's the first thing. You must understand your area, because it's from there that you start building. And when we talk about building, sometimes there is a trap that most of us, we, like the youth, let's say the youth, we get into trying to do so many things at the same time. It's a trap. You might be multi-talented, but when you are still in your season, your years of development growth, wisdom will teach you that you don't build on all of them. That's why there's what I call your major. You have to find your major. Sometimes you will see some people, maybe when they are presenting or what they are doing, somebody is doing photography, the person is doing real estate, the person is doing, you can name it. And sometimes those that don't understand this, you tend to celebrate the person that, oh, you are strong, is good, but for now and in your season of growth is affecting you negatively. When you are still growing, you focus on one, because one thing you will learn in the case of growth is that focus is a fundamental factor, and there's no way you can focus on several things. You build on one, then when you have become great, big on that one thing, you leverage on the influence, the impact you have on that one thing, and you stretch it to the other things you want to build. So that one is now what I call the major. It's from there now you identify what links all of them. The others wait. You just write them down. There is one that you need to focus, because if you want to build alongside with all of them, most of you, if you are real with yourself and you have been doing this, you are going to agree with me that your growth has been very, very, very slow. Not because that's how it's meant to be, but it's because your energy is dispersed. You have to focus it on one thing, get mastery at it. Because when we are talking, for example, of building, we are talking of going beyond borders. What is going to make, for example, you as a teacher in Nigeria, that the Ministry of Education in Ethiopia calls you that we have a problem in our educational system? We want to hear from you. So you get mastery in one thing first, then you deploy. When you are at the top of a mountain, it's easier to get to the top of another mountain. The movement here is a horizontal movement. You don't go down, then go up again. For example, let me just give this scenario to illustrate what I want to say. Cristiano Ronaldo, I think for those of you that watch movies and you know of the movie series Fast and Furious, you are going to notice that on the publicity that is being currently made on the upcoming series, Cristiano Ronaldo is going to be among the main characters there. Now, this is the first movie that Cristiano Ronaldo is doing. If you have watched movies, if you know Fast and Furious, then you should know the weight of that movie. Like, we are not talking of a street drama, like it's something big. We are talking of a series that is more than 10 years now. But this is Cristiano Ronaldo acting his first movie, and that's where he's getting already. Why? The influence and the mastery, everything he has built in the football industry is what is making him to move horizontally. With the influence he has had in the football industry, even if tomorrow Cristiano Ronaldo says he wants to get into education, you'll be shocked that the result that people that have started education from ground zero and they got after 20 years, he gets it in 6 months. Why? Because when you are the top on one mountain, to go to another one, the movement is a horizontal movement. You don't go down and then start climbing the other one. So it's very important that we understand the aspect of building, because we said that one of the purpose of this convergence is to do what? Network and collaboration and everything. And the truth is that in a relationship, in a network of people, of builders, you are only going to be relevant when you have something you are bringing on the table. You have something you are known for. That's what is going to make you relevant. One thing you are going to notice with people that are intentional about building, growth, development, is that if you are going to stay around them, you must be building also. So it becomes very hard for them to keep someone that is not doing it. For example, we are saying, let's say a teacher now from South Sudan just gets in contact with a teacher from Nigeria from this group. What is going to sustain that relationship on the long run is this thing I'm talking about. The reason why the Tower of Babel grew fast was because of this. Everybody had something he was doing. So what are you doing? And we can't really overemphasize on the place of networking, collaboration. I always say that dominion is not a solo journey. When God gave the dominion mandate, he didn't say let him have dominion or let her have dominion. He said let them. It was a plural. Dominion is not a solo mandate. Dominion is what? Dominion is not a solo mandate. When you look at the Asians today, you look at the Jews thriving, this is one of the things they have understood. So you will see Chinese relocating, let's say youth Chinese relocating to the United States for studies. They understand this concept that is not a one-man army. You will see they will get to the United States, they will get an apartment. They can camp there, even 20 of them. Not most of the times, not because all of them can't afford to get an apartment each or a student room each. No, yes, I know that can be in some cases, but most times that's not the reason. It's because they understand that power of togetherness. They understand it. The Jews have understood this. So you have to be intentional. I always say that it is, for me, it's an aberration. I see it upwards that you say you are in a domain and you can name people, be it in your country and outside of your country, that are doing what you are doing. Something is wrong. Even Jesus that came to restore the kingdom, he understood this concept. That's why he had to build his company of the 12. So this is something that we must take seriously. And if we are going to maximize this, talking at the level of Africa, going international, going beyond borders, then we must have a mastery of interculturalism. We will have to understand it. If not, the the relationship is going to suffer. So it's very, very important that we understand this, that networking is not an option. That's why you are going to see today. Most of the big structures, companies we are celebrating today from the start, you notice what? They started 2, they started 3. You can barely count to your fingers multinational big companies that are still standing today that have made waves that it was built by one man. What? Apple, Google, what do you want to call Amazon? What? So if we are going to be able to bring back order in Africa, then we must leverage on this, we must understand this. And another thing I want to say here is that this call is actually a sacrificial call, because it's going to demand you your all. This is a cause that you have to live for. That's why from the beginning I had to say that what you build in alignment with your purpose. Because imagine if you are building in something that has nothing to do with your purpose, it means you just be wasting your time. It's going to be demanding. Sir Jonathan spoke about reading, investing in your development, taking courses. All that is an investment. You invest your time, you invest your resources, you invest everything. So the worst thing that can happen to you is to make such an investment in the wrong direction. Oh, your end is breaking, sir. Please, if you can hear me clearly, the others please indicate. Okay. So I think you should just leave the call and join back then. So it's very important that we understand this. And you know, one of the reasons why the average African does not think in this direction, I've come to realize, is that it's because building is hard work. It's not sweet. It's not peanut. It's hard work. So that's why the average person will just run away from it. He's just going to be contented with just be living with the me and my family mindset. Like me and my family. If I can, I am a teacher, I am a banker. If I can have money to pay my bills, send my children to school, I'm okay. Educational system does not concern me, because it's hard work. But what we forget in all this is that the solutions to all these problems that we are beholding lie on our inside. When you go through scriptures, the Bible, you are going to notice a pattern, most especially in the Old Testament. Whenever there was a problem, the solution to that problem was always arising in the midst of the problem. The solution was never coming from outside. Time will fail me to list scenarios, but just name anyone you want, you will see the solution to the problem was coming from the midst of the problem. So the solution to the various challenges that Africa is facing today are in Africa. So it's going to be a waste of time for us to be sitting and folding our arms and we are waiting for the white men, the Westerners to come and save us. The other time when I remember when there was a high rate, I think, with kidnappers and all this thing around in Nigeria, and President Donald Trump rose up and said, if the government does not act, we are going to come. Till today, we are still waiting that they will not come. Because you are the one that have the solution to it. So the hard work that I was talking about building is what? Is to bring out that solution from your inside, actually. When Habakkuk is talking to God in Habakkuk chapter 1, he's complaining, oh, the children of God are doing this, the children of God are doing this, they are doing this, they are doing this. When you read chapter 2, God comes and he tells Habakkuk, write the vision, make it plain. Do you know what that means? Actually, all the things Habakkuk was complaining was having the solution. That vision was what? In other words, it was sight. God was calling him to see beyond the problem, capture the solution, and document it. So most times, what stops us from being consistent, or yes, consistently giving ourselves to this hard work I mentioned, is that we have not seen. Remember, this is what sustains the children of men in Genesis chapter 11. What the scripture says, they saw it in their mind. And there is no way you will miss in achieving it when you have seen it. Many people are just looking, very few are seeing. Once the picture is there, you get to the end of it. So as a builder, one important thing you must have is sight. Is sight. Is sight. You have to stretch your eyes, go beyond that problem, go beyond it. The solution is beyond it. So one of the things you will see from this is that when you have this mastery of sight, this is now where they'll start tagging you like, let's say, a futurist or whatever you're going to mention it. Because when you start journeying on this path, you'll discover what is unknown is still much more than what is known. Maybe the particular problem that you have been, that is before you in that domain, that company, or wherever you are, they have already applied solutions and it's still not working. There are still many unknown solutions. You must see, is a must as a builder. When the architect is building a house, what happens? The end goal is in his mind, and you see through your mind actually. When you read the story of creation, how come God was able to know that everything he was doing was good? When God was finishing to create something and he will conclude that this is good, God was not saying that this thing is good because he wants to flatter himself. No, actually, he was comparing. God had an image of what he wanted to do. So when he was finished, when he was done creating, he's going to take what has been done compared to what he saw. It is based on that comparison now that he concludes that this is good. That this is good was not to flatter himself. It was really good because it was exactly as he saw it. I believe that I have an ideology that I believe strongly in, that you see the story of Joseph when they are calling him to go and interpret Pharaoh's dream. The solution to the famine in Egypt did not come on Joseph at that instant. Joseph had seen the problem before. Because when you look at the precision and the accuracy by which Joseph was giving the solution, you know that this is not something that was instantaneous. The guy was ready. He was prepared. This is where we talk about what the mastery. He was prepared for it. So he had already seen the problem, things, sat down and crafted the solution to it. So when the opportunity came, he was ready. So like I said, building is hard work, but when you have seen, it changes everything. You are energized, and it's more like there is a self-encouragement system engine that is now on your inside. That's what makes you to keep pushing and pushing until it comes. Because one of the things we should not cover our eyes with is that it's not going to be an easy task, but it's going to be possible. If you are an engine, if you are mostly into engineering, you are going to notice that to rebuild something that was already existing is harder than building something from scratch. Let's say they give you a website now, you are a software engineer, they give you a website that we want you to restructure, they give you a lot of things. It's harder than you sitting and doing that website from scratch with all of the updates they want. But once you have seen it, what happens? It seems as if it's light. That's why sometimes you see these top people, top tiers, they do some kind of things and it looks stress free. It's stress free. It seems as if it's nothing. Meanwhile, the effort that is being demanded for the execution of that thing is crazy. So sight is very important. It's very, 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 very important as a builder. So you have to intentionally sit and think. We can't talk about sight without talking about meditation. You need to use that because it's from there that you're able to get these solutions. So the call to building is a call to work. That's why, as we also on the fly, it was what? Stop talking and start building. It's a call to work. In that your domain of influence, that school, you that is in education, those challenges you are seeing, start thinking of how they can be resolved. You don't need to be the Minister of Education before you can start addressing problems that are in the educational systems of your nation. You can start even as a teacher. You don't need to be the number one businessman in your country before you can start addressing the problem that the businessmen in your countries are facing. Yes, it's true, dominion is easier at the top, but even from the bottom, there is a certain level of impact that you can have. So you must start thinking in that direction as a solutionary. You must be solution oriented. And the only way you are going to get to this level where you are going to be concerned to start thinking about solutions is that you have to migrate from the position of complaining. There's one thing that when I started understanding these things, there was one thing that was fundamental in this. That the limitations, the things that our leaders couldn't achieve, is actually what is meant to be a paramount factor to our own relevance. Meaning, if our leaders were perfect, there are higher chances that we are not going to be relevant. If gone ahead of us were 100% perfect. I'm not saying this to embrace or caution or agree with the things they are doing. No. But if they were perfect, you won't be there. Nobody will feel your existence. So their imperfection is an opportunity for you to rise. When you start looking at things from this direction, everything changes. You stop complaining and you start thinking in the direction of solutions. You start thinking in the direction of solutions. So it's very, very important that we get this clearly and we align ourselves to it. We have seen the days where Westerners, just the same way as today, once it's holidays, those that have financial means are just thinking of is it Caribbean beach or wherever, any hotel, go to Monaco or wherever to go and spend holidays. These are coming when those same people are going to be coming to Africa because of the change. But this thing will not happen by an amen or by a declaration. It's only going to happen because there are men and women that would have devoted their life to this cause. That's the way all this is going to happen. For example, we are talking today that Africa is that we have the raw material, the resources, we'll take it, we sell it to the Westerners, then they do the refining, they sell it back to us. The question we need to ask ourselves is, those raw materials, are you sure you can have a system more efficient than their own to do the refining and get better results? Have you worked on it? You, for example, as a petrochemical engineer, that you are saying in your country, they are taking all the hydrocarbons, they are sending it, and they are doing the refining. If they put you in that position, can you handle it? So you see, when you start thinking in the direction of solutions, stop complaining, you see that taking your development, building capacity, taking your development serious and building capacity is no longer going to be an option. Let's say you study geology or I don't know anything, and the Minister of Mines in your country says, okay, all the mines in this country, we are putting it at your charge. Bring a system that is going to handle. Are you going to be able? You must be ready because it is going to come. It's going to come. One of the things I've noticed with opportunities is that it is your readiness that makes you able to identify opportunities. Most times we say we don't have opportunities, it's because we are not ready. When you are not ready, you can't identify opportunities. It is your readiness that makes you able to identify opportunities when they show up. Joseph knew he was ready. That's why even when the servant of Pharaoh was leaving, he told him that he knew where he was going. So he knew that he could interact at the level of the palace. He knew he was ready. So that your idea, that solution, for those of us that have started working on it, there are means for it to explode. They exist. But so long as you are not ready for it, you will not be able to see it. So building capacity is what? It's not an option. It's not an option. Like I said in the beginning, you might discover that you are multi-talented in so many things. I don't know why I'm coming to this. Don't confuse yourself to build on all of them. Take one thing and focus on it. You can't in 10 years. Okay. So I'm concluding with this. A cult to build is a cult to work. And like I said, builders are visionaries. They have sight. And builders are conscious that the magnitude of what they will build is proportional to what they have developed on their inside. So the capacity that you have developed is going to influence what you are going to build at the continental level. That being said, thank you very much for your time and your attention. I'll hand over to my brother, Sir Jonathan. I am Junior Scholar. Thank you.
Wow. Somebody clap your hands. As somebody learns something, clap your hands, clap your hands. Clap your hands. So powerful. You have to become a solutionist. Those things of complaining have to end. You have to become a solutionist. You have to build. That building starts with you. Thank you so much, Mr. Julius, for those thoughtful insights that you've shared with us. I believe everyone has really learned a lot. I personally have gained so much value from the conversation that Mr. Junius has shared with us. I'm going to give opportunity to one person for the interest of time because we want to be out of here. I'm going to give opportunity. Let me give to two people. This time, let me choose someone. Let me start with a gentleman. I'm going to start with a gentleman. Let us have a gentleman from Cameroon. Do we have somebody from Cameroon? A gentleman? Do you have some builder from Cameroon who is on the call right now? No, builders don't hide themselves. They don't feel sorry for being builders. Are you there? A gentleman from Cameroon, a builder from Cameroon who is a gentleman. Okay, I think that, did I see Takeng? Takeng. Are you from Cameroon, Takeng? You first unmute, let me hear your voice. Takeng Sherian, if that's the name. Takeng Sherian, yes. Takeng Sherian. It sounds like it's Takeng, it sounds like
Yes,
Chinese.
I'm from Cameroon.
Okay, from Cameroon. Let us just hear from you. What have you learned from the conversation that Mr. Junius has had with us? What are your key takeaways in just 30 seconds you can share with us as you proceed?
I will first start by, I'm just from entering, so I was having an urgent meeting. I had to attend it. So as I've entered, unity among us is great, and we need to always put hand in hand. Whatever you are doing, you need to always have partners at other places. You cannot be doing something like you are in a bank but you have no contact with other people that are also doing banking in and out of your country. So unity is good and you learn more. Thank you.
So wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Why am I here? Okay, good. Thank you. All right, thank you so much, Takeng from Cameroon. That is Takeng from Cameroon. She's getting so much value from the conversation. Let's have another one person, then we go to the next speaker. This time, let us have a gentleman. Do we have disruptors? We do have disruptors, you know. Builders are people who don't wait for permission. So do you have somebody who is a builder and you're passionate about it, and you don't play small, a gentleman? You can just unmute and you tell us. We are having builders on the call. Builders don't wait for permission. When they are called upon, they always show up because they have a solution mindset. Let us have Pius. I'm seeing Pius has unmuted. Pius, you can tell us what have you learned from Junius's conversation, and also with the country you're coming from. Yes, please.
Yes, greeting to you all, ladies and gentlemen. It is such an honor to have this kind of meeting. Just like we don't take it lightly, this is a big thing. Yeah, I'm from Uganda. My name is Young Mongo Pius. Yeah, Junior has spoken a lot of an insight. That is so big, so powerful. It is an awakening. Wherever we are, there is always a reason why we are in a particular place. If God knew that I have something to do in America, by now I will be in America. The fact that I'm in a particular place there is always something I can do. That it is not about how much I have, it is not about how much I know, but with the very little thing I have by that particular moment, it is enough for me to do something. That is all about seeing it big tomorrow. That if I'm starting something, it should be with the vision of impacting many. So I can be just a small scale tailor, but being that small scale tailor with a big vision is a lot. That I can start attending to only one client, and in 2 years I'm attending to millions. That is a lot. So it is just having a mindset which is tuned to impact. Thank you so much, Mr. Junior. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Wow, so beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Vision, vision, vision. That is the conversation tonight. So at this very moment, we are having the very last speaker. And I'm not going to invite that speaker if we are going to just speak. It's like some people have those stuff. I see. In Uganda right now, it is 10 p.m. You guys in Nigeria, you guys, I don't know what's the time in your country right now. You guys are still early. So I think in Nigeria right now it is still 8. It is still early for you guys, but here it's already 10. Some people have already slept, but because you are builders, we are still on the call. So let us clap, let us clap, let us clap, even as we welcome the next speaker. Let me see hands clapping. Let me see people clapping. Are you expectant? Are you excited? This time we are having Billionaire Bukunmi. If you think about that name again, Billionaire Bukunmi is that person who's going to share with us right now, and so much value, I can assure you. So let us keep clapping, even as Billionaire Bukunmi unmutes and shares with us insights on the conversation we're having tonight. Mr. Billionaire Bukunmi, you're welcome, sir.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Please let me know in the chats if you can hear me. My eyes will steadily be on the comment section so that I can know that we are together. Pardon my voice. It's beginning to do this thing when it's night time or early morning. Okay, so I do not want us to waste time at all, but I would genuinely want us to invite someone to get into the room. Share it on your status, share it with a friend personally, and tell them that just 1 more hour. Just 1 more hour. And we would be done with the Africa United Summit. So please go ahead, share the Google Meet link with someone, with people, friends, families, enemies. Share with them. Just 1 more hour max, and we'll be done. So far we have heard from Mr. Jonathan. We've heard from my brother too, Juniors, and it's my turn. They've said a lot, and at this point, I'm feeling oppressed. What do I want to say? What do I know to say? Anyway, that's just a joke, but I genuinely hope that you are inviting someone, that you are sending the link to someone to join us. Please share it to people. There are certain conversations that do not come often. And the reason why I am privileged to be the convener, eventually decided to do this is because I've seen that it's becoming progressively hard to find a lot of Africans in the same place, whereas we have common problems. But anyway, that's by the way. So a note before we begin here. There's been a lot of Pan-African conversations in the last 60 years, for example, and it's produced the same thing. Sorry if I keep looking down. I'm actually using a second device for following the comment. A lot of Pan-African conversations have happened in the last 60 years, and people have they've left the conversations fired up, but they return to this habit. So what those conversations do is that they are inspirational, but people live with no instructions. But my session, or this whole summit as a whole, is structured a bit differently, because every part of what I share, or what we share, is something that you can begin to act on. Personal development, discovering yourself, sight. Now, in my session specifically, every session, or every section rather, that I will be pointing out will be having a question and the action point. Because the goal is not that you feel something. The goal is that you do something and continue doing something from this night. Now, on the flyer, as we have it, we would say repairers of the breach, and it is hauled out from Isaiah 58 verses 12. The breach that was spoken of in that particular verse is not abstract. It is specific. There is a specific location, a size, a cause, and a repairer. So your job in this summit is to locate your own breach. Just like Junius was talking, is to locate your own breach and begin to work on it, living with a plan to begin to work on it. That's your job in the summit, because there's a scope I'm trying to cover, there's a range I'm trying to cover, but how it applies to you is just like Junius was saying, your field, your sphere of influence. All right, moving on. So before we discuss how to start building, we need to diagnose why we keep talking. If not because I am actually a speaker and my gift from God, or my most prominent gift from God, is my words, I genuinely may not even be in the public, because we talk too much. But because, ironically, my words are my tools, I have to talk. But then, despite all this talking, there is a lot of useless talking that has happened so far. And we need to diagnose why we keep talking without change. So the continent, Africa, is not short on conferences. We have a lot of conferences, we have a lot of summits, we have a lot of panels, we have a lot of declarations. But why does it seem as if there is a gap between conversation and action? Why does it seem as if, in fact, the gap is getting wider? And it's not a rhetorical question. There are specific, nameable answers to these issues. So first, there's a comfort that the conversation gives. So talking about Africa's problems is socially safe. You will get a lot of applause from people when they see, oh, this person is talking about problems. It positions you as someone that is aware, someone that is conscious of the problem without demanding anything from you, without demanding that you change anything about how you live, without demanding that you change anything about how you spend your time or how you spend your money. Talking is the low cost version of caring. So if you talk about it, people feel like you care. Are we still with me? Are we still following? Please kindly use the chat so that I know that you are with me. Okay, Excel is with me. Jonathan is with me. However, building on the other hand, it requires you to be wrong in public. It requires resources you may not have. It requires partnerships that you can work on something together and it will fail. Yes. Building requires you to attempt something that may embarrass you. And so the rational choice is, if you want to protect your reputation and your comfort, is to just keep talking. The person, and there's a quote, the person who describes the problem at the loudest volume is almost never the person fixing it. Volume is not action. That the person is able to communicate it does not mean they are committed to it. Talking produces no friction, but building, when you start building, there will be enemies. There will be naysayers. There will be people that will tell you you will fail. There are people that will tell you that who do you think you are? That's how you know you started building. Africa needs people that are willing to be uncomfortable. Africa needs people that are willing to be uncomfortable. So many things I want to say, but there is time constraint. Perhaps from the community, we can have another session and begin to, point out some things. Having this session is a sacrifice. But let's leave that. Let's move on. We're talking about identity at one point, and for the sake of the conversation I'll be having with us, there are two types of people that care about Africa. There is the identity gap in conversation versus action. There are two types of people that care about Africa. The first type are people that consume content about Africa. So they share posts, they attend summits, they feel a genuine connection or emotion about the continent's challenges. They can relate. But all they do is share posts, attend summits, and just feel. The second type of people are those that produce solutions. those that build institutions, those that create employment, those that generate value. Now, note, both of these groups love Africa, but only one group is repairing the breach. The two groups, one is called the consumers, the other are the builders. The brutal truth is that most Pan-African communities or attempts at Pan-African communities or WhatsApp groups or platforms are full of consumers that are masquerading as builders. And of course, that masquerading works as long as no one demands proof of construction. So when we see people passionate about Africa, we begin to applaud them instead of looking at, okay, where is the output that should be rewarded? And so in this point, I want you to assess yourself that in the last 12 months, what have you built? What have you created? What have you launched that did not exist before you showed up? And so if the answer genuinely is nothing, you are still a consumer. And it's not condemnation. It's just that we have to be honest about where we are starting. There's an identity gap. There are the consumers and then there are the builders. Moving on, there's something called the awareness trap. And it is part of the problem. What do I mean? People that are conscious of this Pan-Africanism mindset, it produces awareness. But if there's awareness without activation, it puts you in a trap. It gives you a feeling of progress, whereas you are not producing anything. So you can be deeply aware of Africa's resource wealth. You can be deeply aware of the colonial history, as we use that excuse a lot. It irritates my soul at some point. We're deeply aware of the infrastructure deficits of Africa, but we still go to bed every night doing nothing. Awareness is the starting line. The moment awareness stops producing, then it begins, if it doesn't produce action, eventually what it will produce is cynicism. And cynical people become the loudest critics of the people that are actually attempting to build. So if you check social media, there are a lot of people that are stoning someone building one thing or the other. There's someone always complaining that someone who is building is not doing well, or they could have done better. When you are busy doing nothing, you will always have mouths to complain. Awareness says something like, oh, Africa is rich, or that, oh, the system is broken. Of course, anyone can say this, or can even say something like we are saying that, oh, we need unity. But what activation looks like is that, oh, I am building something that uses that richness. Or for when the system is broken, you're like, oh, this is the micro system I'm building within my reach. Africa United is one of those microsystems that I am building. What are you doing? Or that we need unity. Instead of saying we need unity, why not contact one person in another African country this month to explore collaboration? Because that is what battered this conversation that we are having. It's not enough to be aware. Activation must follow. Now, a missing ingredient that I've noticed across conversations is that there is no specific. Hey, I was about to bite my tongue. There's no specificity. So many of these conversations we are having fail at the point of being specific. We need to build Africa is not a plan. We need to educate our youth is not a strategy. We need to invest locally is not action. They are directions but not destinations. And you cannot arrive with just a direction. So the moment a builder appears in a room, what makes them stand out is majorly one thing: they speak in specifics. So of course anyone can say they are building schools, but the builder would be more specific. You would see something like, I'm building a literacy program for 200 children in Kampala, Uganda by Q1 next year, and I need money. This is the current funding gap. This specific, hey, African village, you have come for me. Specificity is the language of builders. Generalization is the language of talkers. A vision that does not have a date is majorly a dream. A project that does not have a deadline is an hobby. If you have a collaboration without defined rules, it is still just a conversation. And so for this part, like I said, I'm action-oriented for us in this conversation. We have to be action-oriented. Now, before this session ends, I want you to write something out. I am building dash for dash people in dash by dash. What did I say? I am building, let me use an example. I am building Africa United, a community for 100 Africans in different parts of Africa, including Nigeria, Uganda, Cameroon, Ghana, UK, Nigeria, by 2026. I am building dash for dash people in dash by dash. Simple. Abi, moving on. When I think it was Jonathan started talking about Nehemiah, I was feeling like, oh, did he peek into my notes? Because there's a part of my notes that is tagged the Nehemiah blueprint. And the reason why it is so is that if there is one figure in scripture that models Action Summit graduate would look like, it is Nehemiah. And it's not because his context matches ours exactly, but his methodology does. Nehemiah was a diaspora African. Relating it to us, was a diaspora African in a foreign land whose heart was broken by news from home. It's just like you, for example, someone on this call who is probably in the United Kingdom, you hear something, you're in Nigeria and you hear something and you hear bad news. And instead of just, allowing your heart to be broken or mourning the breach, you decide to travel, or if you cannot travel, begin to fund projects of those building in your country. Nehemiah, as an example, did not just mourn. His heart did not just break. He went ahead to go and repair it. So the book of Nehemiah is a 13-chapter project, 13-chapter project management manual, if you read it from the lenses of a builder. What are things that Nehemiah did? Stage one, Nehemiah asked the right question. There is something Vusi Tembekwayo says. It says that the prerequisites to having a sensible or a right answer is having a sensible question. So if you are asking the wrong questions, of course you have the wrong answers. Number one thing, Nehemiah asked the right question. Nehemiah chapter 1 hears that, the walls of Jerusalem are broken and the gates are burnt. His response is not to post about it. His first move is that he asks a specific question. What is the state of things? He gathers intelligence before he forms an opinion. He listens before he lashes out and speaks. I know a lot of evil might be happening in Africa, but we cannot be careless with our speech. We cannot just talk rashly, because talking does nothing. Many of the conversations that have been Pan-African conversations, they begin with conclusions. We have decided what the problem is before we actually investigated it properly. But Nehemiah models the discipline of inquiry first. You cannot repair what you have not accurately assessed. So in the area you're called to, what does this mean practically for you? The questions that you must ask, like, okay, what specifically is broken in the area I'm called to? Secondly, who is already working on the breach, and what can I learn from them? Thirdly, what resources currently exist that are being underutilized? Then fourth, what would it look like if this area were fully repaired? This last question, of course, all the questions are important, but this last question is very important because we must have a vision. And I think it was Juniors that was talking about that. You need a picture of the destination before you can build a road to it. Second thing that Nehemiah did in the Nehemiah blueprint, first one was that he asked the right questions, yes? Second thing is that he mourned productively. What does that mean? Nehemiah wept, because of course it's emotional. He fasted, he prayed, but his mourning and all these religious activities was not passive. He was processing information, he was building conviction, and he was developing resolve. There's a difference between grief that paralyzes and grief that propels. There are people that have experienced terrible things in their life, and because of the terrible things they experienced, they decided that they will never ever allow anyone go through that. Then there are other people that have made that grief into a trauma and are not moving forward. The people whose children died, and they decided to build an institute that would cater to children of, let's say, cancer is what killed their child. They decided no, they would fund research and ensure that as much as is within their power, no child within that environment dies of cancer. As a person using their pain, using their grief productively. I heard the story of two children raised by a drunkard father. One eventually went to jail because he started drinking and all that. The second one became a very responsible, upright man in the society. And they asked both of them that, oh, why? How did you end up this way? And their response was actually the same thing, that, oh, with a father that was a drunkard, how else could I have ended? One used the same information of grief to better his life. The other one used it to be exactly like that. So it's not necessarily the situation that is happening, but more like, what are you interpreting from that situation? Nehemiah grieved, or he used his emotional response as fuel, not as a destination. Many of us are stuck in productive feeling mourning. So we are feeling deeply about the continent's pain. And of course, I'm not denying that the feeling is not real or that it is. You shouldn't mourn. But feeling deeply about a problem is not the same thing as being committed to solving it. We need problem solvers, not problem criers. Nehemiah's mourning period ended and his building period began. Both were necessary. It didn't make his mourning permanent. So I'm saying that grief is appropriate, but prolonged grief without action eventually becomes an identity. So we turn to town criers. You stop being someone who cares and you start being someone that is suffering. Africa does not need more people that are suffering. We need builders. Now, another thing that Nehemiah did was that he came with a plan. He came with a plan, not just a passion. When Nehemiah stood before the king, he did not just pour out his heart about Jerusalem. He comes with specific requests, letters of safe passage, timber from the king's forest, access to resources. He had done the work of planning before he had the opportunity to be present in front of the king. For lack of time, I just have to move on and leave many things to our understanding. I won't be saying too many things. The fourth thing that Nehemiah did is that he surveyed quietly before he spoke publicly. So in Nehemiah 2, he was talking about how he went out at night with a few men to survey the damage before he announces his plan to the people. So he does not launch a public campaign before he has done private due diligence. He did his own work. He did his study. That you have a burden for Africa does not mean you shouldn't study. Study to show yourself approved unto God. See, both the devil and God agree on one thing. You are useless if you don't study. They can do more with an informed person. Study to show yourself approved unto God, a workman that needs not to be ashamed. My people perish for lack of knowledge, not lack of anointing. The rule of private before public: test your conversation, test your idea in conversation with 2 or 3 people before you launch it publicly. Build a small version of what you're proposing. Solve the problem once manually before you try to build a system around it. Survey the landscape before you draw map. Then another thing Nehemiah did is he organized people by their own gates. In Nehemiah chapter 3, it's one of the most strategically sophisticated chapters in the Bible. The entire Bible. So every family, every group, every team is assigned to rebuild the section of the wall that is directly in front of their own house. So it's not a general assignment. They are given specific, personally relatable assignments. And that's the genius of the Nehemiah model. You understood that people build with the most commitment when the thing being built protects something that they personally care about. They assign them to their own gate. What's the principle I'm talking about here? Every person builds best when they are building something that protects what they love. I'm able to successfully do this because Jonathan is also passionate about Africa. Junius is also passionate about Africa. There's a shared interest. So the question I would ask them is not, will you join my vision? Is that what are you already building and how do our walls connect? That's why we are able to successfully have this conversation. Then another thing, stage 6 now in this Nehemiah story is that he built with one hand and held a sword with the other hand. In Nehemiah 4, it should be chapter 4, the people were rebuilding the wall, carried their load with one hand and a weapon in the other hand. So they did not stop building when opposition came. They just changed posture. They held both things simultaneously. And what am I saying? Every genuine building effort in Africa will face opposition. It will come from corrupt officials. It will come from your peers. It will come from partnership failures. It will come from public criticism. The same people that you're trying to build something for are the same ones that will stone you. If you are a builder that is surprised by opposition, you are not paying attention. There will be enmity. Then the last stage of Nehemiah's story is that he finished. The fact that they became concentrated in their efforts, the fact that every man carried his own weight, every hand was on deck, ensured that they completed the wall in 52 days. Nehemiah finished what he started. Africa's landscape is littered with things that were started. There are businesses that launched and faded. There are projects that got funding and dissolved. There are initiatives that had a grand launch, but there was no follow through. Starting is easy, finishing is a discipline. Of course, the people that never start are terrible, but much more, this breach is being hot when people start and do not finish. Just like Junius was saying, it's harder to rebuild than it is to build from scratch. So before you begin what your next project is, define what being done looks like. Determine what the end of your life is. What do you want people to say at the end of your life? What do you want to have as result at the end of your life? Then reverse engineer it. Walk backwards from there. Anyway, moving on, and hopefully I'm genuinely rushing a lot of things so that we can at least cover a lot of ground. The next part of my notes is talking about locating your breach. You cannot repair a breach that you actually don't recognize or you've not located. We can keep talking about the fact that we want to contribute to Africa's rebuilding. But many of us will never actually start because we're trying to fix everything at once. So focus like Junius was saying. Yeah. So I won't go too far. I'll just give you 4 pointers in finding your breach, and it is the gift framework. Gift framework. G in gift. Gift framework. G in gift is for gifting. So what do you do that creates value without exhausting you? What ends you your breach in this context, Lolia, is your area of assignment. Locating your breach is your area of assignment. And so now I'm not speaking about the gift framework that points to your assignment. Your assignment sits as the intersection of the four things I'm about to talk about. G is for your gifting. What do you do where time collapses, where you solve problems faster than the average person, where people consistently come to you? It's many times that thing that feels so natural to you that you assume everyone can do it. Mine is speaking and writing, amongst other things. So you're gifting. Second thing is infrastructure gap. And what does infrastructure gap mean? It means that what system or institution or resource is absent or is broken in a domain that you care about. Infrastructure gap is not necessarily a problem you just feel bad about. It's the problem that makes you angry, that you see solutions for before other people do, that you find yourself mentally designing fixes for, even when no one asks. It is a personal thing. So there's your gifting, there's the infrastructure gap. Then third, which is F, is the felt need. What is suffering because of that gap? What is suffering because that gap has not been filled? So a breach that is really a breach, that is really an assignment, is one that has human cost attached. So there are faces, there are names, there are communities that are affected because of that gap. So this felt need anchors your assignment in compassion rather than in ambition, because it matters. You must have compassion for the area of assignment. Then the last one is timing, GIFT, gifting, infrastructure gap, felt need, T, timing. Why now? What has changed in your context, in your resources, in your relationships, or the broader environment that makes now the right season to begin? There's a difference between an assignment that is not yet and an assignment that you are avoiding with not yet. There are many of us that we have been saying not yet for years, whereas we know it is time. We know it is time to start building, but we keep saying not yet. Wow. Guys, are we still together? Are we still with me? Use the charts. Let me know. I think I might need to remove this thing. I feel like we might need to have a follow-up session to talk because I don't want us to take too much time. I'm like third speaker. I'm the third speaker rather. And of course, some of us are already tired. And it feels like we've not even gone to the cross of the conversation from my end. Or do you guys feel like we can still have one more hour? If not, we can just close it here and perhaps continue another day. Because there's a lot. I want to talk about cross-border building. I want to talk about the levels, the 3 levels of these breaches. I want to talk about how we should build systems and talk about the activation gap. Like I said, we are not just talking, we must activate. Anyway, let me try to round up. There was there's a Psalm of Stars that was written by Bishop David Oyedepo in one of his books. And let me try. I would read it. That is the final thing. Well, I think, yeah, maybe we can do something like that later. But let me just try to give a rounding point to the conversation for tonight. I made some posts recently. One of them, and by recently, I'm talking in the past few months, yes. One of them is talking about how in Nigeria, for example, when we started this call, my network wasn't so good because I was using MTN. My subscription had expired on Starlink. So before I eventually now came up to Speak Now, I had to subscribe to Starlink to ensure I have good network because MTN was, I thought I could use it, but it started acting up, so I couldn't. And so, example, in Nigeria now, when a person of means is complaining of terrible network, the usual advice you hear is buy Starlink. As if Starlink is $20. But there is a problem in that statement in the fact that we just keep throwing money at the problem and we think it disappears. But let me use Starlink as an example. Yeah, Starlink uses electricity, so you need a good power supply to use Starlink, which is one of the major problems of many African countries. How do you then do it? So you need a considerably good power supply to even function. It needs constant, reliable electricity to stay alive. Now, except maybe you buy a power bank, big power bank for it, maybe. Or let's even imagine that you have a solar system. So you create a solar system, and fortunately for me, I also have one. A solar system won't give you much power because rainy season comes. Now, the sun disappears for days. The battery is draining faster than it can charge. Fuel is expensive. And the power operating company can decide to withhold electricity. Nothing, no matter how much money you have, it does not beat, nothing can beat a working system. Nothing, absolutely nothing beats a system that actually works. Now, this personal story I just spoke about is Africa's old story right now. We're raising individuals who buy generators for a nation that should have light. We are buying balls and doing it personally for a nation that should have water. It's something the government should give. Then you begin to hear stuff like when the power holding company gives light for maybe 10 hours out of 24 hours, you begin to hear stuff like, oh, they tried. Tried what? Have you become so used to mediocrity that ah, that is one of the problems. God. The future of Africa does not belong to those that are waiting for permission. You can't wait for permission. You have to begin from your corner. What can you do from where you are? And begin to do something. The future of Africa belongs to those that are deciding that mediocrity is no longer acceptable. Jesus said something. He said, to whom much is given, much is required. So if you are being given influence, steward it with integrity. If you're being given creativity, use it to solve problems. If you are being given wealth, use it to empower others, not just enrich yourself. These are things that we must begin to practically do for ourselves. What marks true leadership or makes you successful as a leader is that you are able to create more leaders. One of the things that my life proves is that you can come from nothing, in quote, and build a life of significance. One of the things my life proves is that your faith that is fused with fierce action can change your story. And I'm a work in progress, but if God is doing it with me, He can also do it with you. But are you even willing in the first place? Now, to round up the conversation tonight, we'll be deciding on the group if we'll have another conversation, because I've left my notes at this point. I'm not even going to attempt it anymore. I've left my notes, and now I'm just speaking from a few jottings, not my notes necessarily. The Psalm of Stars by Bishop David Oyedepo. I think I saw this about 4 years ago, the Psalm of Stars. And it reads something like, I am not disadvantaged. Many people think because they are black, they are backward. That because they are Africans, they have no worth. It reads, it says, although I am black, I am not disadvantaged. I am not underprivileged. I am not unfortunate. I am not unlucky. I am just in shape for the topmost top in life. I am not oppressed. I am not depressed. I am not afflicted. I am anointed. You can write out whichever part hits you the most in the comments or in the chat rather. I am anointed a king to reign on the earth. I am anointed a king to reign on the earth. I am not failing. I am not losing. I am not begging. I am given. I am winning. I am gaining. I am the light of the world. I am the salt of the earth. I am the city set upon a hill that cannot be hidden. I surely have something to offer my world. I am not a beggarly citizen of the earth. I am peculiar. I am treasure loaded. I am unique. I have the mind of Christ. I surely have what it takes to impact my world. Let me quickly share it on the group so that at least we can take it once together. I am not a beggarly citizen of the earth. I am peculiar. I am treasure loaded. I am unique. I have the mind of Christ. I surely have what it takes to impact my world. I won't pass through the earth unnoticed, not because I am hunting for fame, but by the reason of the value I will add wherever I am found. I am not drowning. I am not sinking. I am a burning and shining light. Anybody who plays around me are signed up for his doom. I am not a burden. I am not a concern. I am not a reproach. I am created for the envy of my world. I am indeed a blessing to my generation. One last time before I call it a night and hand over back to Jonathan for us to call it a night. Yeah. The Psalm of Stars by Bishop David Oyedepo. I am not disadvantaged. Many people think because they are black, they are backward. Because they are Africans, they have no words. Although I am black in skin color, I am not disadvantaged. I am not underprivileged. I am not unfortunate. I am not unlucky. I am just in shape for the purple stop in life. I am not oppressed. I am not depressed. I am not afflicted. I'm anointed a king to reign on the earth. I am not failing. I am not losing. I'm not begging. I am giving. I am winning. I am gaining. I'm the light of the world. I'm the city set upon a hill that cannot be hidden. I surely have something to offer my world. I'm not a beggarly citizen of the earth. I am peculiar. I am treasure loaded. I am unique. I have the mind of Christ. I surely have what it takes to impact my world. I won't pass through the heart unnoticed, not because I am hunting for fame, but by reason of the value I will add wherever I am found. I am not drowning. I am not sinking. I am a burning and shining light. Anybody who plays around me assigned for his doom. I am not a burden. I'm not a concern. I'm not a reproach. I'm created for the envy of my world. I am indeed a blessing to my generation. That is where I'm going to call it a night and hand over back to Jonathan. Refuse to be a non-entity, refuse to be a burden. Decide within yourself that you will be a problem solver, a contributor to your society, because the proof you are living is that you are giving. The proof of your existence is contribution to your society. So go ahead and be useful. Determine what you can do from your little estate towards this conversation, towards this reality of African United. We would be discussing on the group how we'll move forward. For those who have questions, we'll have another session where I will conclude, and then we'll take questions and answer them. That is all from my end tonight. Over to you, Jonathan. Okay, so I think Jonathan is currently not available on the call, but before we call